we've been speaking about how you are working full time on Japan Dev and VCList, but there was a period of time when you were employed as well as also working. How was that period? Would you do it again? And what were the things that you would make right if you had to redo it?
Yeah, that was a tough period of time. Because, I was working full time as an engineer, really for about like the first year and a half or so of Japan Dev. I was working full time and doing both. It was really tough because I'd literally do like a full day of work for my normal job, right? My full-time job. And then I'd finish that and be like, oh, yes, finally, it's over. And then immediately have to jump into the Japan Dev stuff and basically do a bunch more work. So I don't think I could have sustained that very much longer, to be honest. I got really lucky in that the business was doing well enough that I felt okay to go full-time on it at around the time when I was really getting pretty burnt out. Because the other thing is like it got worse and worse as it went on. As I actually got clients, was starting to get revenue and things like that. It sort of became a real business. Then it's really hard to do that at the same time. So that was tough. In terms of like things I'd do differently, it's really hard to say. I mean, I could probably have automated a lot more stuff. There was so much manual work, just like operational stuff, just like day-to-day things, just to keep things going, like emailing back and forth and doing things manually when I probably could have had like a system to do it. That type of thing. I could have cut down a lot on that and probably saved myself a lot more time and gotten kind of the same result with less stress. I could have probably relied on other people a little bit more, like gotten some Upworkers and people off Fiverr or whatever to like help out with some of the stuff. That's still something I kind of struggle with. I end up kind of doing everything myself just because I'm kind of afraid to get other people involved, So I still think about that now for ways that I could bring in some other people. But that's one thing I probably could have done a little bit more as well. But just kind of taking some of the responsibility away from myself and delegating it or automating it, I think are probably the only real ways that I could have made it much, much better. But it was probably going to be pretty rough regardless, though, I think.
So you mentioned you were like earlier hesitant about getting like Upworkers or whatever. I'm making an assumption and you can validate it. Was there some anxiety that if you hire people to work on it, it becomes a thing and you kind of have to ensure it delivers? Did you experience that while working on it?
Yeah, definitely. And I was not sure if it was going to work, especially early on, right? Even when we turned it into a kind of a real business and had contracts and stuff, like it wasn't the kind of thing where we had like steady monthly income coming in or anything. So it was like, okay, it worked this month, we made a little money or whatever, but we'll see how it goes next month. And maybe it'll continue, maybe it won't. And that was obviously one fear that I had. And it also just adds a lot of complexity as well, because then you're managing, right? If you hire someone, even if it's just like an Upworker, the management overhead actually can be pretty significant. And you can end up spending more time trying to like check their work and make sure that they're working and that, all that kind of stuff than you would just doing it yourself. So that was kind of my thought process early on. Is like, I have to write this proposal and like you have to make it super detailed so you can find the right people. And like usually you cycle, through a few people before you find like someone really good. Even then you kind of have to watch them. And it's like, I don't know if it's worth it. So I don't know. There's trade-offs,
When you are working full time and you are managing your product, there could be some unexpected thing in the middle of the day. So there might be some incident in your product, or you might get some kind of client call or, support call or something. So did that bother you in your, normal full-time work?
It was very scary because you're right. That could happen at any time. Like if the site had kind of gone down or if there'd been like a major issue with a client. I mean, it was a constant fear that I had. So even just that, it was kind of scary, right? Just to have that fear in the back of my mind. I don't know. I can't really think of any like really major things that went down where I had to like take time off from my job or anything, thankfully. But honestly, I just got lucky in that sense. I was working at a company that was like pretty flexible. And I think I was able to kind of plan meetings and stuff. Like if there was something I had to do for Japan Dev, like try to make sure that I didn't have any meetings that night or whatever, that kind of thing. And there was some stuff like that where I try to kind of schedule things around each other because I was having to do like some meetings and stuff for Japan Dev too. There were things that were maybe a little bit dicey, but no major issues though, to be honest. But that was just because I got lucky. There could have easily been.